Welcome to Court Explainer. Social media is active, heavily active, on matters sex, where the question about Marion and Opande have engulfed the nation. There is unanimity that that is a topical question. But inside that, we did an explainer where we are giving why and how many crimes that were committed by Opande. This explainer, we are now coming to the younger people. The question about what is the age for consent for sex? When does one say he or she has capacity to get consent for sex? Marion was above 18, so that question is not there. But out of the reaction of very many people in Court Helicopter, they expect us to deal with the age of consent. And as we deal with the age of consent, the question is, when a child who is 17 years, a boy, engages in sex with another child who is 16 years old, what happens? In America and in other countries in Europe, they have what they call Romeo and Juliet clauses, where there are exemptions for young people when they are found engaging in sex. Do we have the Romeo and Juliet clauses in this country? Our focus, the answer, is not on what people think. The answer is on the Sexual Offences Act of 2006. Let us first of all define who has capacity in Kenya to give consent. Only an adult can give consent for sex. The definition of an adult is found in the Constitution of Kenya, Article 260, which says any person above the age of 18, that person can make a consent to have sex, and nobody can challenge that. Although there are exceptions, one can be 18, but he or she is an imbecile, one that the doctors have said she cannot be or he cannot be able to make a determination and appreciate the decision she has made, which in the penal code we have said, if you are found having sex with an imbecile, somebody who is insane, somebody who cannot be able to make a decision, that is taking advantage of that person, it is a criminal offense. So the second stage that we are looking at, if we are dealing with the law of Sexual Offences Act, what is the statutory punishments available for anybody engaging in sex with a minor? The law in defilement talks that if you have sex with a minor who is below 11 years, whether it is a boy, whether it is a girl, you go in for life imprisonment. 2, if that kid, either a boy or a girl, is between the age of 12 to 15, this girl or this boy is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you go in for a duration of 20 years. Remember, there are no fines in these laws. If that kid is between 16 to 18, you'll go in for a minimum of 15 years. Under the guidelines of the judiciary policy of sentencing, this is the minimum punishment. The court can give you a maximum sentence depending on how you conducted it or what attempt did you do to ensure that that doesn't change? So in Kenya, the minimum age for consent is 18. What about the whole world? How have the world decided on their age of consent? You'll be shocked. Let us start looking at what happens in the US. In the US, there are around 52 states. And under the US, the law allows each state to make their own age limit for sex. So there is no one age. And those Kenyans who are traveling to abroad, you will have to understand that each state has its own age of consent. Very interesting. There is nothing. This matter has gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of America said it allows the ages between 16 to 18. You play between 16 to 18. So in a certain state, you'll have sex at 16. In another state, you'll have sex at 17. In another state, it is not a criminal to have the age at 18. So the range is within 3 years. That is in America. Very, very interesting. For example, if you look at California, California is 18 years, Colorado is 17 years, Delaware is 18 years, Florida is 18 years old, Georgia, it is 16 years old, Illinois is 17 years old, Indiana is 16 years old, Kentucky is 16 years old, Maryland is 16 years old, Massachusetts is 16 years old, Michigan is 16 years old, Mississippi is 16 years old, Missouri is 17 years old, Nevada 16 years old, Oklahoma 16 years old, Pennsylvania 16 years old, Rhode Island 16 years old, South Dakota 16 years old, Texas, where many Kenyans are, 18 years old, 17 years old, Utah, 18 years old, Virginia, 18 years old, Washington. Can you imagine? Washington, 16-year-old, Wisconsin, 18 years old, and very many others. So the question is that if you are traveling to any of these countries, you need to know each state what sex age is allowed. It's not like in Kenya where we have a general consent of 18 years. Let us look in Europe. What happens in Europe? Because very many people are moving. In most European countries, the age of consent is 15 or 16. I know you are getting mad that your children in 16. So the question is, when you send your daughter to study in these countries and she starts engaging in sex at 15 years, you will be very, very mad. But that, imagine, is the law in Europe. It says, although there are some divergent countries, Albania, Austria, Hungary, Italy, Serbia, Germany, Montenegro, Portugal, all set their age consent at 14. Can you imagine? 14. In France, Poland, Sweden, Greece, Denmark, Iceland, it's 15. Spain, Romania, Switzerland, Finland, Netherlands, Norway, Luxembourg, Belgium, UK is 16. Ireland, Cyprus, the age is 17. And Malta, Vatican City have the continent's highest age consent of 18. It is very, very interesting to look at that. What about in Africa? In Africa, the countries that have 18 years like us is Uganda, South Sudan, Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Tunisia, Burundi. But in Madagascar, it is 14 years. In Niger, it is 13 years. Interesting. In Libya, Morocco, and Sudan, there is no age of consent, as couples cannot have sex unless they are married. Do you know, my friend, you can't be allowed to have sex, leave alone about the age. Don't tell me about you are 25, you are 28. In these countries, you are only allowed to have sex in a marriage. Which are these countries? Libya, Morocco, Sudan. There is no age of consent. You must be married. In Libya, marriage is illegal under the age of 20. So in Libya, you must be 20 years to be married. In Morocco, boys cannot marry before the age of 18, and girls under 18 can only marry with special dispensation from a judge. In Sudan, the minimum age of marriage is 18. Homosexuality and lesbianism is completely prohibited. So this question about threesome, foursome, 20-some, 30-some is completely illegal in these countries. Court Helicopter will always bring it to you as it is, regardless of your feelings, whether you like it or not. Let's go to Asia. What happens the age of consent for sex in Asia? South Korea used to have one of the world's lowest age of consent at 13. Now it is 16. North Korea, 15. China, it is 14. Japan, it increased from 13 to 16. And you can see the level of age of consent in Asia is very, very low. When you look at countries like Vietnam, Lebanon, Turkey, the age of consent is 18. Very, very interesting when you comparatively look at this. In India, we have a big Kenyan population heading to India. There is a campaign of whether the age will grow or it will not grow. Originally, it was 10 years. It increased to 16 after the independence of 1949. In 2012, it was raised further to 18. So don't go there. Don't go to India thinking that the age of sex, the age of consent is still at that low. It is now 18 years, around there. And lastly, in many Muslim majority countries, including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Pakistan, Qatar, Yemen, and Maldives, sexual activity is prohibited outside marriage. Whether you are 40 boss, there's no sex. So the question I'm asking, is this the reason why many Kenyans are being deported back from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, because they don't know the law? Now you know the law. If you are going to those countries, park your goods here, leave them here. Don't walk with them there. If you walk with them there, they will never be operationalized unless you're married. And remember, you are not allowed to marry unless you are a Muslim in those areas. Those are naked realities that comes only from Court Helicopter. Then in those countries, in most of those countries, 18 is the minimum legal age for marriage. Remember, there is no legal marriage for sex. It is legal marriage for marriage. Although in practice, religious marriages are often contracted at younger ages in remote or conservative areas. So here, the marriages are contracted very, very young. these marriages, you don't have a choice. Here in Kenya, you have got to make a move. You have got to do your vibes. You have got to apply, and your application is considered. There, it is family engagement. They arrange within a family, and therefore the marriage has contracted. In Iran, boys can marry at 15 and girls at 13, or from 8 years and 9 months, with the parents from the boy side accepting, or with you going to court. If you are a 15-year-old, if you are what you say an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old girl, you can go to court and the court allows you. That is the law in those countries. What about Iraq? In 2024, the Iraqi government passed a new law that permitted girls as young as 9 to be legally married in certain religious circumstances. So they are called work-free. At the same time, the legal marriage for boys was also reduced from 18 to 15, abolishing a long-standing ban on child marriage. So that is the law. What about South America? Our friend Maduro. Let us see, now that he has been captured, do we go there to see if the law allows age of consent for sex? The age of consent in most South African American countries, including Ecuador and Brazil, is 14. But in Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, the unrestricted age of consent is 18. In Paraguay, the age of consent is 14. And therefore, that is the issue that we deal with it. I think we have answered several of the questions that were raised. Keep watching. Wakili Danstan Omari, wishing you a happy new year.